You see this view that I must pretend is outside my house? This was part of my childhood. I used to play here all the time. Look over the rolling hills beyond here, watch the leaves fall during the autumn up by these woods, and flowers bloom in the spring. Hear the birds chirping as the dogs are barking, trying to chase them. I don't want to take that for granted. But 20 years has gone by, and not a lot has changed here. But I know there's been changes elsewhere around the world, like the polar ice caps have dramatically melted. And yet, a view like this, where there's more plastic bottles and glass bottles, like I remember by the wood's edge, impacts something like the polar ice caps. And that's something we definitely learned through my experiences at the Student Conservation Association, where their mission is to have inspire younger generations to promote the benefit of preserving and conserving your ecology and the environment around you as a whole, because something starting with your local place, your local ecology, benefits the world as a whole. Picking up a plastic bottle can mean changing the ice caps to an extent, because now you have to educate yourself on how to help your ecology, help your environment, but this doesn't quite include books and news articles, because after all, how are you going to read a very thick book about the environment of such and such place? No, there's things you can do that have auditory, visual, and hands-on activities for you to learn about your own local ecology. That's going to your local parks. That could be a national park, a state park. It could be your backyard like I have here. But with the parks, they often have information there. They have the pamphlets with the bird watching. They have tours that you hear a ranger speak. They have little games for the kids to play. And as someone who did work at a park at Fort Frederica National Monument in St. Simons Island, Georgia, I have seen these benefits, because not only does it benefit the environment, it benefits the people and their health benefits. There's people walking their dogs every day. And when you start to talk to them, they'll pick up pamphlets and learn things as they read the information, or they just enjoy the birds that are flying by. And also the kids will have tours, and you tell them things during these tours. And while some of these kids are too young to have these memories, it will absorb in them and again help become the younger generation. As someone who went to historical parks a lot as a child with family vacations, I do know the benefits of that, because history is an important subject, even if I don't remember any of that time. But now, how to use that education? You go... I forgot the visuals. So, visuals. But what if you don't have the time exactly to go to a park at the moment, but you still want some information, and you still don't want to read those books? Well, there's a visual that I know very well through my geospatial experiences called maps. After all, something like this that I am pretending is the National Geographic map that I should have printed instead of the National Park Listing map. Having a map like this can explain much more about the rising water levels than I can explain it through my mouth. Because in the map, all of Florida is gone, so no Florida. But in that map there, because with GIS, one of our main purposes was to show these things through maps, and maps tell stories, and pictures worth 1,000 words, and maps also include that as well. A lot of the projects dealt with like the California fires, the flooding in the Eastern Shore that is damaging Norfolk and the wildlife there. And while I focus more on the archaeological aspects of GIS, a lot of the people did do the environmental stuff, and that influenced me. And of course, GIS eventually led to my time at the SCA. And now, beyond this education, there's also you to recognize your own ecological footprint. What your ecological footprint is, how much impact you do have on the earth. You can start doing this by taking a simple quiz, also known as your footprint calculator. It is on the Global Footprint Network site. And you take the quiz. I took the quiz. My impact's not the best. It will take 5 Earths worth of resources in order to, for me to manage how I, it will take 5 Earths worth of resources, in order to withhold how much I use, if everyone used the same amount as I did. We don't have 5 Earths. And if everyone did use the amount of resources I did, we would have overshot our resources by March 4th. So I'm not doing too well. One of the main reasons is living in a big old house, using some of the older resources, and traveling very, very far distances on cars that don't have the best gas mileage. So my carbon footprint is by far the worst. And how do you change your footprint exactly once you know it? So the Global Footprint Network does show solutions, like solutions for my own problems, like carpooling with my parents when I do travel around. And also, I will actually eventually later on move, and so that move can help benefit as well, which I could carpool with other people or not do as much. Or I'm also living in a smaller house. And there's also just little things, like I recognize now I need to cut off the lights instead of forgetting to not cut them off. And there's the little things too, like having plastic water bottles and using something like a Yeti instead of plastic. And of course, again, the Global Footprint Network has solutions that differ from each person's by their own footprints. And finally, now on to discussions. Now that you know your footprint and you recognize it, maybe you could go tell a friend about your footprint and promote this quiz, but also just discussions overall. They begin in small, simple conversations. With your families, your friends, your co-workers. It can start by going to the recycling bin. It can start by asking to carpool with some of your co-workers. It could be something like doing a speech here and your parents asking, what is your speech is about? But the conversations are important. Like when I wore this SCA shirt at Fort Frederica, people asked what it means and what I stand for. And these simple discussions like that, they make into that big step of involvement. And so discussion, hey, when I go to clean the litter by the river, can help, again, with that ecological benefit. Back at Fort Frederica, we would often go downtown to promote some of our events, and we'll have people show up because we promoted it when it wasn't promoted like that before. And then later on for things like when Hurricane Irma hit the island, people were coming to help us collect the trash and the debris that came up from the storm, and even with the government shutdown. And so this involvement is that big step into helping cleaning up litter, like the litter here at this back hill. Something I will have to pick up later on, since I know its impact on not only on my local environment here, but on Earth as a whole. And without having Earth as a whole, I will no longer have this view here, my home. because I now know my footprint. And my footprint will never heal back the damage I've already done. But I can at least help grow something around my footprint. Or maybe when I take each step, the steps will become smaller. 4 Earths instead of 5. 3 and 2 and 1. And then again, it all starts with something as simple as picking up your litter. Will you?